I saw the film at Grand Lake and I loved it. And something just struck me looking at the last photo. She looks a lot like Salma Hayek. And was that intentional? In that you kind of glammed her up. She doesn't really look like that in the movie. But do you think that may have helped subliminally?
No, I wish it was Salma Hayek. I would have been able to sell the film a lot faster. Yeah, no, I didn't see it. I didn't see it when she came into the audition, but other people noticed it. Like, she looks like Salma Hayek, and I just didn't see it. She was very thin when we auditioned her, and then when I gave her the part, I wanted her to plump up. Which I think most films would be like, we want you to lose weight. I was like, I want you to gain weight. And that has to do with a lot of the women that work in the fruit bale that are working these carts that are lifting, they're these strong women. So, but yeah, once she did gain weight, I think she resembled Salma Hayek a little bit more. But I have seen that comment online as well, where she looks like Selma. So.
Thank you for this talk. One of the things that I kept hearing from you was that you kept getting all this feedback, and there were times when you could have settled. And so I was wondering, how did you discern to not settle?
Yeah, well, I don't do this for money. I don't make films for fame or money, and I think that's a good start for one. So once you knock those two out of the way, I think you can be a little bit more clear on your message. So yeah, settling, and there are plenty of times when I probably would have settled if, I don't know, Sony would have said, we're gonna give you $10 million. I would have been like, done, let's do it. I'll settle. But no, I wasn't gonna settle on making the characters more homogenous or anything like that. I wanted to stick to, they speak Spanish, they speak Japanese, this is how we live, and this is the film I'm gonna tell. And again, going back to those workshops where they tell you, don't do subtitles, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, this is reality. And no, and actually one of the best compliments I get for my film is your film feels like a documentary, it feels real. And, but that's like one of the best compliments I get. But yeah, so I'm glad I feel like I didn't settle.
What's next? Are you working on something new?
I am. Like my bread and butter is I end up directing. I was directing a commercial this past weekend. So, yes, people are waiting for the next project, and I'm writing that next project. I had a screenplay written before East Side Sushi, but it was too expensive to make, and so that's why I decided East Side Sushi is going to be the film that I do, because I think I could make this one. So I've gone back to that screenplay that I wrote prior to this, and it's funny because I look at it now with fresh eyes after a few years, and I think, God, this writing's horrible. Like, what was I thinking? This dialogue's so bad. So the core of the story's staying the same. I'm just ripping it apart right now, and it's a mess. But this year I'm honing it, and it'll be done this year. Yeah.
So you said it was really painful, right? And I feel that. I'm also a filmmaker. How much less painful is it the next time?
Yeah.
Can you give me a percentage?
Yeah, it's at least 50% less painful. No, it is great because, yeah, your first film, nobody trusts you. Nobody wants to give you... I'm very fortunate. You know, going back to that Indiegogo, how I was mentioning that I only raised $3,000, the one beautiful thing about that is I sent out all the DVDs to the people who I owed DVDs to recently as gifts. But that list that you get of people that believed in you early on before you started rolling that camera is a beautiful list of friends and family. It's like, oh my God, it's so... Anyways, that's the one beautiful thing about Indiegogo, and what's the other one? Kickstarter. But yes, of course, the doors are they've opened up a bit more, for sure. So people are now contacting me, whereas opposed, I would contact them, they would just, no, we do not want to talk to you. You have nothing under your belt. So now at least people talk to me. And it's great. So yeah, but I think your first film, you have to earn it. You have to dig deep, and it took me a long time because I kept thinking, well, maybe somebody's gonna knock on my door with a big cash of money, you know, big bag of cash, and then will believe in me. And that I knew that would never happen. So yeah, I had to work hard for this first one with no backing. It's really difficult, but it's possible. For sure.
Can you tell us the inspirations for the film, and if you had written or produced any shorts before it?
Yeah.
And another addition, were you working at Lucasfilm while you wrote the entire script for East Side Sushi?
No, I'd done probably a short film every 2 years. I would jump between narrative films and documentaries, and I just love straddling between the two. And when I get bored of one, I go back to the other. So yeah, and again, all of my previous films, they all had these mixed cultures in them, so it was no leap that my feature would have mixed races, I don't know, I love that. I love, mixed religions, everything that makes up the U.S. So while it took maybe 4 years to write East Side Sushi, and we're talking 7 months of research, because once the character I was trying to play with, what does she want to do, or what does he want to do at the time, because it was a he. Does he want to be a French chef? I was like, but then I liked sushi. I thought it was cinematic, and I liked those two cultures together. So yeah, but my inspiration, I was watching this guy wash dishes in the back of this restaurant, and I thought, I wonder what this guy aspires to do with his life. Is he happy washing dishes? And I started to think of this whole story of his life, and so this is maybe 2007 or so. This is before I had a cell phone in front of my face. So I used to observe the world much more, and so I started to think of this story, like, is he providing for his family? Maybe he loves washing dishes. Maybe he wants to become a cook in this little greasy restaurant. It was a little tiny diner, and I thought, for him, that would be huge. I'm going to write this story of this dishwasher who wants to be a cook in this little greasy spoon restaurant, and I'm going to make that epic. And it was going to be, I only did it as a writing exercise to see if I could tell that story and make it compelling, so I kept it very narrow. But yeah, as things progress, it's like, well, maybe he wants to make sushi, and then once I started to interview sushi chefs, I realized, especially here in the Bay Area, I couldn't find any female sushi chefs. I thought, that's very interesting. What's the deal with that? And once I made that character female, the story began to flow much more. Was there another question?
The small bit was, did you write most of it while
yeah.
working at Lucasfilm, or?
No, because at that point, that was after I got laid off. So at that point, I was bopping back and forth between freelancing, doing documentaries, and working at other visual effects companies. But yeah, part of it was done at Lucasfilm. Yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning that this was going to be about your motivation, and then you said recently that money and fame wasn't your motivation. So can you talk a little bit more about what is your motivation for making film?
I don't know. I don't know what pushes me. Part of it is telling me I can't do it. That pushes me. Yeah, if you tell me I can't slam dunk, I'll try to do it. It's like, I'll figure this out. So I'm a little hard-headed in that respect. But it's an amazing thing when you make a film and you touch people. That is just crazy, and I love that, and that's what keeps me going. Especially when the film is playing and I hear people laughing, I hear people crying at just the right moments. It's like, yeah, it's a drive. It is a drug when you hear that. But honestly, that's what keeps me going. And I've heard so many people after this film that say it's such a positive film, it's so motivating. So it's, I believe people want to see that. And it's sort of pushed me for my next film to make something else that's like that. That's not so dark, that makes you believe in humanity, right? So that's what pushes me.
Beautiful film. I also saw it at the Grand Lake. It covers gender and racial. It also beautifully depicts Oakland, and not in an overt way. Towards the beginning, I won't ruin it, everyone should see it, but a real moment that's, kind of ugly and scary, and I love the way you did it. And I just wonder if the renaissance that Oakland is seeing right now, and your film came at the right time for that renaissance, and we're finally getting good press in Oakland, and maybe it was just this perfect time for the film to emerge. So I'm wondering if you can comment on that, and maybe if you have any more plans to feature Oakland in your work, being an Oakland native.
Yeah, the robbery scene, that's a scene that I had some conflict with. Part of the story was I was not going to have, it was going to be a Latina lead. I didn't want to have gangs, didn't want to have guns. And it's funny because I would send the screenplay to various people to read, and some of the feedback was like, how about if she's in a gang? How about if her boyfriend's in a gang? I was like, no. I was like, these are just, they're people. They're just like us. It's like, come on, get past that. So I did have some conflict with that, but at the same time, we're in a city, and that happens. You know, I got mugged like 4 blocks from here pretty badly. My DP was mugged while we were filming, so these things happen and they're real. So I don't have like any apologies for depicting Oakland in a bad way, and I don't think it does in that one scene. But I was thinking about that quite a bit, because that's the thing. Like, this film went all over the country and now all over the world, and people have asked me, "How is Oakland?" Because it has this history of being a violent city, which it's turned around quite a bit. So it's this funny question, like, why did you film in Oakland? I find that so odd. It's like, why not film in Oakland? It's amazing. But I hope more people don't film here, because I want to film here, you know? So, because then people are they're gonna get upset, they're shutting down the street to film, you know? So, but no, for sure, I do plan on making many more films here, for sure, yeah.
You showed some statistics about who's typically in films, or in leading roles, and I'm kind of curious about the role of media camps like Camp Reel in making sure filmmakers with different perspectives, women or other people, what role they play in kind of changing that general landscape of film looks like.
Yeah, in front of and behind the camera. So the Annenberg piece that I was showing you, that report is extensive. It goes into, behind the camera, in front of the camera, LGBT, it just like breaks it down. And it's pretty depressing to look at. It's really sad. So I'm glad that this information's out there. I'm glad the media is picking up on it. I'm glad that the Oscars So White hashtag came out, and I'm glad, because it's changed. And it's funny because hopefully it's more than just a hashtag. Like, you know, this could all go back to the way it was tomorrow, and, you know, which I hope it doesn't. But part of the thing, and I guess the Oscars got a lot of flack for it, but it's not the Oscars aren't the problem. If they don't have any films to vote on with minorities or women, it's like, it's not their problem. It starts, and some people think it starts with the studios, right? The studios need to start backing more of these films. So I'm going to go further and say, well, forget the studios. It's like, we could make our own films. I made my own film without a studio. So why must we keep waiting for these studios to make the change? We can do it. It's like, we have, you know, that film that was made on a cell phone. It's like, if we can make our own films, and we could make our own change. So yes, don't wait for other people's affirmation for your screenplay. Just do it. So I don't even know if that answered your question. I went off on a tangent. Sorry.
No, that was a great response. I was thinking specifically like how media camps for women or for girls specifically, how that can help.
Maybe you could answer that question better than me.
I think anytime we give, I don't want to take away from Anthony's talk though, anytime we give young people an opportunity to make mistakes and be creative in an environment where, and then to collaborate, I think it gives them great hope for the future. And I totally agree with you. I mean, what we teach at camp is that they have a better phone on their camera than I had in film school, and you probably had in film school. So they should be making their stories now, and we're just helping them hone their skills. So I'm very hopeful that, you know, films like that are self-funded, that getting the accolades that they do, show where the rubber hits the road. We train young people, we give people an opportunity to make films, and we give audiences an opportunity to see films that are more reflective of our society. Then hopefully it'll be a much bigger and quicker shift, because those numbers have been the same since the 40s, since like, so it's time to change them much more rapidly.
Do you happen to have the poster before the current one you showed?
Not up here, I don't. I know it's on my Facebook page. Okay. But yeah, it's funny. I once I saw that outline of it was just a mock-up of a girl doing that. I said, that's the poster I'm going to go with, because that's the ones the studios do not like. That's the ones they don't want to see. I'm going to do that. So yeah.
You mentioned that there was a lot of hurdles, you know, going out, trying to get your film exposed and getting the reviews. Would you do anything differently with that experience now, next time?
Yeah, if I were to be honest, yes, if I were to have named actors in the film, it would make the whole process from beginning to end much easier. It really would. Because going back to when I would talk to distributors, I would say, hey, I got this film, it's won all these awards, and they would just cut me off and say, who's in it? And if you don't have anybody in your film, you're pretty much dead in the water with these people. So, yes, best case scenario, I would have had Salma Hayek as the lead, I guess. I don't know, but no, but I love the way the film came out. I love how there's no stars in it. I love Diana Torres. She is remarkable. I would never replace her. Even if somebody told me I could replace her, I would not. She's phenomenal. But gosh, there's so many things I would do differently. And it comes down to money. Money makes some of the pain go away. It does. It's if you're able to pay people, because we had to work in shifts. We have like, you look at the credits on my film, we have like 7 boom operators. Because, it's like we had people come in shift after shift because people could only volunteer for so much time. So money does help, unfortunately. Doesn't mean it's impossible to do without money. It's just, it would help quite a bit.
So real quick, where can we see it? You see show iTunes, is it available other places online?
It is on, you could rent it on Netflix. It's Vudu, Amazon, DirecTV. It's pretty much everywhere except streaming. You cannot stream on Netflix. You can't stream on Amazon. But I think every digital platform out there, it's there. Yeah.
How did you get distribution?
So we started to do a theatrical run because here's the other problem. Most distributors don't want to do a theatrical run with your film. Theatrical runs are very expensive because they have to do a lot of advertising and it's just not worth it. So we did our own theatrical run, me and a business partner, and that's when we made the poster. And once we did that, all of a sudden we just got all these offers because they saw the poster, they saw that it was going to have a theatrical run, and people became interested. So it was a very odd way of the way we went about this, but it all worked out.
I'm just curious, when you're not making films and when you're not working to make special effects for larger companies, what other creative pursuits do you have?
Ooh, creative pursuits.
Or just creative interests. It doesn't have to be a pursuit.
I live and eat film. That's what I do. And when I'm not writing, I'm shooting. I was just shooting a commercial this past weekend, but I love cinematography. I love editing. I absorb it so much, and it's so much of my life. And that's pretty much my creative endeavors right there, which is quite a bit, between like writing, editing, shooting, and producing. Oh my God, it takes up so much time. But it's a bit addictive, it really is. But no, I don't, do anything outside of that, because I think that consumes my life right there. So it's hard to find anything else to do. So, yeah. Sorry if that was a bummer.
Just curious.
Everyone, please give Anthony Lucero a big hand.
Thank you. Thank you so much.